Hello and welcome to the Stranger of Paradise Platinum Guide, Part 1. We're just going to be starting off on story, and you can enable casual mode if you want to, just to make things a little bit easier. Right away, it's going to drop you into this fight with Tiamat, kind of teach you the controls a little bit there, not really in-depth at all, but you could just kind of mess around. I don't even know if you can lose this fight. If you do, I'm sure the story will progress either way, but just do your best, and as you get to the end of it, you'll get your first taste of soul shattering along with the first trophy. While that's going on, let's kind of look at what this trophy list entails. There's going to be a total of 46 trophies, and that sounds like a lot, but 16 of those are from the main mission for the story. Another 16 are for the jobs, and then you have 5 that are kind of tied to your equipment and collecting certain items. 4 are for combat-specific trophies, having to do certain things or kill certain enemies. 2 of them are for side mission type stuff, completing one side mission, completing all side missions, and then 2 difficulty-related ones. So you will have to beat the game on chaos mode. At the time of recording this, it's kind of glitched, and just completing any mission on chaos mode works to unlock that. I don't know if that's going to be patched later, but we're going to be going with that for now, and then if that does get patched, we'll address that in a later video. The other difficulty-related one is just beating a level 200 plus mission on chaos difficulty, and that's very simple to do. It might sound like a lot at the beginning when you don't really know what's going on, but once we get into that, you'll see it's really not that bad. And actually, that'll tie into the 16 job ones as well, because that'll make farming up some of the experience required for those jobs a little bit easier. And then finally, the last trophy will be the platinum for just getting all the other ones up to this point. So, getting back into the gameplay, by this point you'll have gotten to this hero tutorial, and there's going to be all these little messages that pop up all throughout the game. You can read through them. It'll give you some pretty handy advice as far as what each individual mechanic sort of does. That soul shield that I was using there, that's probably the most important mechanic when it comes to the combat. You'll find that you can pretty much do that to every boss and just kind of wipe the floor with them. It helps to regenerate your MP, which is that little pink bar below your health, and it fills it up as well. So it's really just an invaluable tool that you're going to learn to love as you use it. So yeah, we're just kind of destroying some goblins here, learning the basics of combat, and then we'll start moving on to the bulk of the game. I will be cutting out any load times and cutscenes, things like that, just to make the video flow a little bit better. And obviously we don't want to watch those cutscenes twice, once on the video and then again when you get there. So you can just watch that or skip it if you're not too interested in the story. I would give the story a chance. It starts out kind of slow, and if you're a big Final Fantasy fan like me, then you'll be wondering about some of the inaccuracies and things like that, but just stick with it. They knew what they were doing. It's actually a pretty good story, all in all. So yeah, we just skipped some cutscenes there, but first thing, you can talk to all these people in here, and they'll just give you some little lore bits. But as soon as you leave, you'll come out to the world map, and we'll be able to actually go into the first mission here. And if you have the pre-order stuff, then this will be when it gives you that. You can hop into the equipment screen and press touchpad. That'll optimize your equipment, which they have a weird definition of optimizing. It just kind of puts on the highest level gear in each slot. And if your job can use multiple weapons, it's not going to change your weapon to the highest available overall weapon. It'll just change to the highest of what you currently have equipped. So if you want to use a different weapon for your class, you're going to have to do that manually. But for our purposes, optimizing is probably just going to be the quickest way to get through everything. If you're really trying to min-max, you can get the affinity that matches the job that you're playing, and that'll help you gain XP a little bit quicker as well. But like I said, in the end, we're going to be just maxing out every class very, very quickly, so there's really no point in spending any time kind of grinding your way through. As far as getting through each level, I'm just going to kind of be taking the quickest route that I know. We might be skipping enemies here and there, but just the way that the equipment system works, it's kind of pointless to kill every single enemy in every level, because the equipment caps, the level caps for the equipment are kind of set for each level depending on difficulty. So even if you kill everything in the level, open every chest, you're not going to find some extraordinary item just in one of the chests or by one of the enemies. You might get like a certain gear set that might not be available in other areas that early in the game or something like that, and I'll point those out as we get to them, but for the majority of things, you're good to just skip any enemies that you don't really feel like fighting. You can see that Soul Shield really comes into play here. You can just absorb the magic attacks and just feed them right back to the bombs, and that'll cause them to self-destruct. You still get the XP, you get the drops and everything, so there's really no reason not to do that. The game wants you to take this path off to the right, and it'll kind of loop around behind these guys, because if you don't have kind of these advanced combat mechanics fully grasped, then this can be kind of a tough area to try and run through. But if you can use the Soul Shield, it's just tapping circle. If you can do that, absorb their attacks, fire them back off, then you'll be fine. If you do get one of them fire ones, then come back here, shoot one at the vine wall. That'll open this up. Just a couple of little items there in a secret chest. We do want to get some items in each level. We're not just going to fully run through with level 1 gear, but we don't really need to just max out our inventory every single time we can. Yeah, once we clear this up, we'll be moving on to the first set of cubes that you can kind of, if you really do feel like farming, this would be a good place to do it. Once you have this door open, you can just reset the enemies at this cube here, go back into that hallway, and just kind of farm those bombs a little bit. It's a good way to level up some of the classes early if you really just want to get some of those bonuses going, learn some new combo abilities, things like that. As far as I know, this guy will always be here the first time you come through. Additional times after that, he might show up in a different area on the map, or he might not show up at all, but kill him and that's another trophy out of the way already. You do want to pick up that chest because that gives you the Hermit Club, and that is the first weapon that allows you to use the Mage class. So that firewall we just dashed through, the game would want you to swap to the Mage class and use the water spell on that to get rid of the firewall, but on this difficulty you can just dash right through it. And you'll see those little yellow orbs kind of everywhere. They're just more like tips, lore type things. None of those are required for the Platinum, so I'm just going to be skipping them. But if you're interested in reading them about some of the background story, things like that, then you can pick them up and read them real quick. But yeah, for the most part, we're just going to be going chest to chest, kind of. If we have to fight, we will. Or if there's like a new mechanic that I can introduce during one of the fights, I'll try and do that. But things like this, they want you to use Lightbringer here against all these enemies. I don't know. Lightbringer, to me, just isn't all it's cracked up to be. It knocks them back initially, and you do more break damage, but then that's it. And then you're just back to fighting a bunch of people. So, not really worth it in my opinion. Plus it lowers your maximum MP, so if you use that a couple times, then you're just not even going to have MP, and you'll have to be using the Soul Shield again to build that back up. There's a shortcut here that'll go back down to that very first set of cubes that we activated. We can skip that. And then you do want to pick up this chest, because this will give you a lance, and that'll allow you to use the Lancer job. These guys here ambush you, whatever, it doesn't matter. Run through all this. These bats are very annoying. They have dash attacks and unblockables, and their supersonic wave. You can actually soul shield that supersonic wave and use it as an instant ability with square. Turn it on them, and that actually does some pretty good damage to them, to their break gauge, so that you can shatter them. So that's one effective way of dealing with the bats if you are going to fight them. But yeah, we're just going to run past everything here. And the reason that I picked the class that I'm using right now is because when you press R2, it activates this aura that will automatically counter any incoming attacks. So since we're just going straight for the pillars, we're not going to deal with any of the enemies here. That's kind of the best way to do it, because then if they're attacking you while you're working on the pillars, then you'll just automatically sort of counter and not have to worry about taking too much damage. Unless they hit you a couple times in a row, like right there. You didn't get a chance to reactivate it. But yeah, any of the ones that would have come out of that dark vent, they get eliminated when you destroy it, so it's just easier. You just go to the dark vent, get rid of it as fast as you can, and then the enemies sort of disappear. Lost enough health that it's giving me the tutorial on potions. Yeah, on this difficulty, I think that I'm going to be surprised if we're using very many potions at all. On the higher difficulties, yeah, you'll be chugging through them, or you'll have one of your classes set up with some healing or something, but not at this difficulty. Then the only enemies that'll be left here are the ones that were just spawned in anyway. That bat probably chased me all the way from the tower before, up the stairs and everything. But yeah, this is already 3/4 of the way through the first level. Making pretty good progress, and you're going to pop another trophy as you approach this. It'll give you your first anima shard. Those can be used when you're in your job trees menu to just give you free XP for a specific job, basically. So if you really like a job and want to max it out quick, you can use them, or if you just hate a job and want to get it over with so that you can move on to something else, you can use them. And that's kind of the technique that we're going to be using in the end game. We're just going to be farming a better version of those that will just allow us to max all the jobs out very quickly. And you have to get this chest because it has the key to the next room here. And as soon as you activate the chest, all these enemies that were hiding in the back come down. And they can be a pain. Those skeletons are one of the first enemies that has a red attack, which are unblockable. In this difficulty, you can still block them, but don't get in the habit of that. If you see red attacks, just kind of dodge to the side or get out of range, whatever you can do. Because once we move up to the other difficulties later on, if you got in the habit of trying to block those, then you're going to be in for a bad time. I just hit those cubes so that we could reset the aggro on the enemies, and then we're going to come back to this room on the side, and there's a tonberry in there, which is another one of the trophies that we need. And I had the wrong class out. I just wanted to activate my counter ability, and of course I used the spinning one instead. But it turns out they don't hardly do any damage on this difficulty, so it doesn't even matter. And like little extra chest here. Go back to the cubes. You can spend your job points if you want. Optimize your equipment again. Make sure you're at full power before we go into the fight. But as long as you refill your potions if you used any of them and have full health, you should be alright to head into the boss. He's really not bad. In the first phase, that blaze, he'll only throw one of them out at a time. You can absorb it with the soul shield and then save it or cast it right back on him, whichever. And all but one of his attacks can be completely absorbed by the soul shield. The only one that you have to worry about is a fiery hold. Just a dash to the left or right. You'll be out of the way there. The only other thing to worry about in first phase, he can light his sword on fire. And if you have the Mage class, if you're actually using that already, you can use ice spells to put out the fire. And then he'll just be back to this mode. In the second phase here, the blaze attacks come in twos like that, so you can't just hold circle to absorb them both. You gotta tap as they come in. Getting used to that kind of early on, being able to take multiple hits by tapping circle. It's a good habit to build as well. All in all, pretty easy fight. And you'll get some pretty decent gear to carry us through the next mission at least. But yeah, like I said, it's just kind of pointless farming any kind of gear this early on. You're just going to replace it. These next couple missions are just cutscenes. There's one little section in this mission where you have to talk to this guy and then go out the door behind you. And then more cutscenes. And then we'll be heading into another mission that is literally just a cutscene. And once that's over, we can actually go into the next mission. Before missions, I like to just go spend any of the points that I have saved up. It doesn't matter what you spend them on. If you want to look through and see kind of what each thing does, if it's a boost that you're looking for or a spell that you've been wanting, you can go through and try and focus your points toward that one if it's lower down the tree. But for now, I'm just kind of spending what I have at the top. And then again, I'm just going to optimize, swap it to the Mage class, because I really like the mace. Once you get one of the combo abilities later on, it makes the fights a breeze.
We've been walking for a while.
If you were a Final Fantasy XIV player, you'll probably recognize this place. Modeled after the Sastasha dungeon. Those webs will drop a spider down on you, so I just kind of dash through them or avoid them, whichever way.
The air feels wrong. Yeah.
This one's kind of very linear in the beginning.
It feels like I've been here.
There'll be a couple branches later for us to get some extra stuff, but for the most part,
Oh, yeah?
if you go left or right here, it's going to take you the same place. And you probably should stop at these cubes just in case you die randomly so that you'll respawn back at the last set. I don't know if you have to rest at them to make that the spawn point, or if the game will automatically choose the last one that you activated. But just in case, you can be safe and rest there real quick. So we'll go through here. As soon as you open this chest, these three will attack you. Just take them out with the standard combo, pretty much what I'll be using the whole game, which is just 3 R1s and then an R2. There are combos that are more powerful with just one R2. After your first R1 or your second R1, use the R2. But I just like to get the full 3 out so that you can build up MP as you're doing it. Because especially with the mace on the Mage class or any of the caster classes, you can build up MP really quickly just with your basic attacks. Loop around here to where that guy was throwing things down on us a second ago. And then heading up here. The reason we killed that last group is because there's a tonberry up here, and they can be kind of a pain if you get overwhelmed. So using that auto counter aura again, just to make sure if we do take any hits from him, we can survive them.
Everyone still hanging in there?
So work your way around. If you want to fight these guys, just be careful of those barrels. If they use their Molotovs or any fire-based attacks, if you're using fire-based attacks, you can set them off and it'll just cause kind of a chain reaction. When you get down here, you just kind of attack these cages. That coral will do it for you just to show you how that mechanic works, but on the other side, there's another cage that we need to get into. These guys are pretty tanky, even on this difficulty. Their attacks don't do too much, but they do have an unblockable, so just, yeah, right there, be ready for that. Dodge to the side. And come across over here, knock this one down. And there's just a chest back here. And that's just the easier way to continue leveling up your gear as you go. They didn't carry that over from the Neo games where you'd be able to go to the smithy and upgrade your gear as you go. Keep like a set that you liked at the beginning of the game and just kind of upgrade it for a ways until you can replace it with something better. You just got to replace everything, pretty much every mission, honestly. Once you go back and open the save point, just go through here, and there's a couple of chests. This area can be confusing, so just kind of watch what I'm doing here and see if you can follow.
Looks good.
One in the corridor here, and then as soon as we get up to this next area, you'll go down behind the stage.
Enemy spotted.
Time to go to work.
There's one right at the end of the docks over here.
Seriously? You can't get across?
No, must be another way.
And then back up over here to the left of where we came in. A couple enemies and a spider web. And then you can just continue up the path a little ways.
Don't think I've ever seen you so scared.
You do want to make sure you grab this chest here at the set of cubes, because that'll unlock the Ronin class. You want to get that so that we can start unlocking some of the advanced classes later on for the associated trophies. This area you pretty much just want to follow the left wall. It's another one that kind of loops in on itself and can be confusing, but as long as you just hug the left wall, you'll end up grabbing this chest, and then you'll continue through the area without getting too turned around.
Webs are everywhere.
As soon as you get down here, you'll see these two dark vents, and same thing, you can fight the enemies the way the game wants you to, and as you defeat them, it'll lower the break gauge on them vents anyway. But if you just go straight for the vent and use some of your combo abilities on it, it'll knock it down quick enough, and you can not have to worry about that. But they still do drop their gear, so you can go back and collect some of that.
We have rum.
Another sort of hidden chest off to the left over in this next area. Or the right, excuse me. As soon as you come down, just hanging out there. Easy to miss if you're just running through.
Take a good look.
And once you rest at
Because
these
we're headed
cubes,
right back into the thick
the
of it.
water right next to us, there's like a hidden little path here that leads out to one of those yellow balls I was talking about. So if you're interested in the lore and all that, you want to grab that for sure. And that's pretty much this level done. We just gotta open one more shortcut that we can use in case you get killed by the boss and you have to respawn. Make it a quicker run back instead of having to climb these ropes. But he doesn't even have a second phase. Pretty much all the bosses in here, you'll get them to half health and then they'll go into their second phase, but this one's kind of an exception.
We'll be surrounded.
You want to make sure you knock this dark vent down first. There's another one a little bit lower. You want to do this one first just because it leads you back up to that other set of cubes. And like I said, I don't know if the game will automatically spawn you here because you might have rested at that other one down below the rope, so make sure you at least touch this one just in case. And then once you knock this one down, it'll get rid of that enemy, and you can go right into the boss fight.
First to welcome these monsters into the world.
Once you enjoy your cutscene, get right to it. He's really not that bad. He's got kind of a few ads that'll come in every once in a while, and you can just press left or right on the D-pad to activate your partners, and they'll start using their attacks a little bit more frequently. That'll be a lot more common to do in the later difficulties because you'll be relying on them a bit more in some of the fights, but in this difficulty, honestly, you can pretty much handle everything solo. And I'm using that same class again just for the defensive aura. You can block any of his incoming attacks. If he does use his throwing attack, it'll show up in purple above his head. Just be ready to soul shield that one so you can absorb it and throw it back at him. The ads really aren't that big of a deal in this difficulty, so you can just kind of focus on him, let your buddies do the rest of the work. And that's it for him. That'll be another trophy in the books. You get to enjoy a little bit more story, and then you'll be back out to the world map. And kind of at the end of each video, I'm just going to, off screen probably, just go ahead and spend my job points and check my gear and make sure everything's good. So I'll show it in this video, kind of what we're looking for at the bottom of each job. Tree is the next job that we can unlock. I really like the Marauder class, so I'm going to be focusing on that. And in order to unlock the next version of that, which is the Breaker, you have to use the Sword Fighter and the Marauder, get them both leveled up enough to unlock the Breaker class. So that's going to be kind of my goal. Then you can go ahead and customize your combo abilities. If you unlock any new ones, they're worth giving a try. Sometimes they cost a little bit more MP, but they're usually more powerful. If you try it and you don't like it, you can always swap back or wait and unlock another one. But yeah, pretty much just be looking to unlock jobs as you can, and then just spend your job points wherever in the meantime. If you're finding that you're getting kind of full on gear, you can always come to the smithy here, and I just go to the last thing that any of my guys have equipped, hold triangle on the thing below that, and scroll all the way down. It'll select everything you scroll across, and then you can just dismantle it. It'll give you some parts to help with one of the trophies later on, so make sure you're doing that a little bit at least. And then some of the gear, this whatever starter gear, it'll just sit in your inventory. You can't dismantle it. It'll just take up spots, so make sure you send that to the storage. But yeah, and then make sure you save your game right before you quit out if you're going to return to title screen or whatever. But that will do it for the first episode. We'll try to get these pumped out as quickly as possible. We'll see you in the next one.